Welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast Year in Review Show 2018.
Damn.
I will be your host this afternoon, Ed Montana. Alongside me today, my amnesia brother who remembers nothing about 2018. This should be very interesting. Alex, how are you?
It's all a blur.
It's all a blur.
I hardly remember yesterday.
Look, by far, the best birth of 2018.
I like where you're going.
The Positive Sports Podcast.
Absolutely.
Born in February 2018.
Wow.
Almost a year old.
And we've done 54 episodes.
This is number 55.
There's 52 weeks in a year. We started a month late.
And somehow we got to 55. Probably because we do crazy shit like this.
Yeah. I must say 2018 started off good with us, the Positive Sports Podcast, and the fans.
The fans of the Positive Sports Podcast
right?
That we've made.
Without
over the
them,
year, we would be nowhere.
The negative.
We'd be talking to ourselves. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can reach the show via email at positivesports10@gmail.com. Positivesports10@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of this guy, how do they do that?
On Twitter at BrooklynGaucho8.
Excellent. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can do so on Twitter as well at eMontana21. Go ahead.
So we've been working on a Twitter page because the Positive Sports Podcast doesn't have a Twitter page.
But it does now.
It does now.
Excellent.
It's under construction. Feel free to give us a follow. The handle is at Positive Sports 6. It's all it will let me pick. Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter.
Who are the first 5 Muppets that took 1 through 5?
I don't know, but we need to find them.
We need to find them, smack them around, and take their handle.
We are the only Positive Sports.
We can be Positive Sports 1 through 6.
Yeah. I'm a creative. No, I'm just kidding. At Positive Sports 6 on Twitter. Go give us a follow.
I'm going to follow that right now.
Going into 2019, I think Ed could agree with this. One of my goals is to have a lot more fan interaction. So we definitely want that to be a priority, if you will, for the show to just get some fan interaction. We don't care about how many followers we have. We don't care about subscribers. Of course, feel free to subscribe, but we just want to have a fan interaction. That's all, and just spread some positivity and talk sports and talk it doesn't have to be just sports. We can talk. Hey, he's an accountant. You need some accounting advice? This is your guy. Don't come to me for anything because I don't know shit. But just interact with us. That's all we want.
Yeah, we don't care if you caught our. What did we end up calling that one episode? The BS episode?
The BS episode, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about anything. We don't care. We're a couple of chatty Cathys. We just like to talk.
That's it.
So let's get into 2018 year in review. I thought we'd start off by addressing all of the champions in 2018. The wonderful thing about sports is if you're really into sports, like if you watch everything, there's a champion crowned every week, right? But in for those of us that have jobs and families and other commitments, and you follow a lot of sports like I do, there's a champion about, I want to say, almost once a month. Yeah. There's someone who has made it through the gauntlet of their season, made it through through their playoffs, and have gotten to the point where they are crowned the very best in their sport for that year. So, with that, let's talk a little bit about 2018 champions. We started off the year with college football, right? Alabama over Georgia in the national championship game that went into overtime. In February, we had the Philly Special. The Philadelphia Eagles winning the Super Bowl over the New England Patriots. In March, maybe April, we had the Villanova Wildcats beating the Michigan Wolverines to win the NCAA Basketball Championship. In May, we had Real Madrid winning the UEFA Champions League.
How many times?
It was their 11th.
Wasn't it like back to back to back?
Their third in a row. Their 11th overall. I don't even remember who they beat.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They're the champions.
Second place doesn't count.
That's right. In the famous words of Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. I'm sorry. Just kidding. And then we had hockey in June. The Washington Capitals winning the Stanley Cup for the first time over the Vegas Golden Knights.
That's a big story.
That's a huge story on both sides.
Yeah.
We had, also in June, we had the Golden State Warriors winning the NBA championship over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Third time in a row they met in the finals? Fourth time they met in the finals. Provided one of the funniest moments of the year. We'll talk about that as well. Let's see. Also in the summer, you had France winning the World Cup of Soccer.
That's right.
In Russia. A fantastic month-long tournament. Actually, it's a 2-year tournament, but the final tournament is a month.
I mean, we're 7 months in. You've won 7 months in, and we've had a major championship that I think, most of the U.S. follows every month.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think you may have skipped maybe 1 month.
Beauty of sports.
Jeez, okay.
It's the beauty of sports.
Keep going, sorry.
Let's see. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Oh, hey. I don't remember who won the women's NCAA basketball championship.
Okay, wasn't it South Carolina?
Yes.
Yeah, it was
over Notre Dame. Because Notre Dame beat UConn in the semi.
That was an excellent game.
That was. You know what? Like, I don't watch women's basketball all year long, but I am all in on the Final Four.
Yeah.
Love the Final Four.
Agree.
Moving on. I can't think of anything really in September.
Me neither.
October, the Boston Red Sox won the World Series over the Los Angeles Dodgers. In the MLS, you had Atlanta United winning the MLS championship for 2018. What else? I'm running out of championships, I think. Can you think of anything?
That might be it. I can't.
I mean, there's more championships for sure. There's just...
I'm not sure in what month this happened. October, maybe? Khabib McGregor?
Fights
that wasn't team, but it was...
Right, but it was a humongous title fight. Khabib McGregor. You can also go back to the heavyweight championship earlier in the year. Daniel Cormier with Stipe Miocic. We had the light heavyweight just this last weekend, shrouded in controversy. John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg, which I mentioned in the previous podcast. I mean, you can talk about UFC. You can talk about champions all the time.
I think that's it for November and December, right?
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
So out of all those championship teams, there's so many of them.
So let's go with teams.
Which team stuck out the most to you, or who would you crown the best championship team of 2018? That's a hard one, man.
That is really hard. That is really hard. Look, and maybe this is my own bias because I'm a baseball guy, but what the Red Sox did this year was incredible. And what made the Red Sox championship really special this year is they really had to run the gauntlet, right? They were dominant all year long. They won 112 games or whatever. They won more than the usual. They were the winningest team throughout the season. They had the best record in baseball. They had to face not one, but two teams that had won 100 games themselves in the playoffs. They beat them. They beat them rather convincingly. They faced a team that had been to the World Series the year before, and they beat them relatively convincingly. And the way they did it, they kind of not broke the rules, but they brought David Price back on 2 days rest to start. They took their best pitcher, Chris Sale, to close out the championship game.
That's right.
They really they thought outside the box, and Alex Cora seemed to push all the right buttons. As far as dominance goes, it's hard to argue with them.
Yeah, I mean, because when you look at it, right, baseball is such a long season, so many games, and they just dominated since spring training. And I mean, I would like to go a different way, but it's hard to argue against them being the best championship team. More complete, more...
If you're going to argue dominance, there's two other teams that you could put in that category as well, Alabama and the Golden State Warriors, right?
See, I was thinking more France with the World Cup, because they really, in my famous words, head and shoulders above the rest.
They had a fantastic tournament.
Yeah.
They weren't dominant in qualifying, but that's a long process. Yeah, they had a fantastic tournament. Alabama had a great season, and then what they did.
You know what's crazy is that next year, for our review, we may be talking about Alabama again.
That's true.
Fuck, and the Eagles.
Yeah. Then you got the Warriors. They were dominant in basketball. They just had an unbelievable year. Man,
it's tough, man.
Tough.
Shout out to all those teams, man, because really it's kind of hard. I thought this would be easier narrowing down the best team, but it's so many different elements, right?
Yeah.
To all these teams having won and how they won is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's and this is kind of the neat thing about doing the year in review is to talk about these champions and to think back about what they accomplished. I played team sports all throughout as a kid. I've been a huge sports fan all my life, and it's amazing when you think about. Obviously, it takes a lot of talent. But there's other things that go into a team just gelling and being able to win at the highest level.
Yeah.
Look, the guys the Red Sox beat in the World Series, that's a damn good baseball team, right? The team Alabama beat in the championship game, that's a damn good football team. But there's something a little bit different about Alabama. There's something a little bit different about the Red Sox this year. A little bit different about the Warriors, about France, about all these teams that we're mentioning.
Yeah.
That they came together for this common goal, and they were just better than everyone else. It's fascinating to watch. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I love team sports. When you think about France winning the World Cup, this is a tournament that only happens every 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? So to come together and, perform the way they did is quite impressive.
And I think it's harder in a way because those guys, they play on their club teams.
Right.
They come together with their international team for 2 or 3 games, 5 or 6 times a year, and then, to go through qualifying. And then they come to this month-long tournament where they have to play 7 games together.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, that's hard to do. 7 or 6 games? 6 games, right? Because
They play 4 groups. No, I'm sorry.
3,
you're right.
3 in the group stage, and then the round of 16, the round of 8, the semis. No, 7 games. So to have to gel the styles and the way you want to play the game for 7 games over the course of a month. It's incredible. Sports is, we talk about business and whatnot. Sports is the best example of life, in my opinion, because it requires that team effort that it takes something special to be the very best. And man, these teams did it this year. It was fantastic.
Or in the case of the Eagles, a little bit of balls,
Yeah.
I mean, running the Philly special, playing against the Patriots. You have the Eagles who were an underdog going in. They played the underdog role. Carson Wentz goes down with a huge injury. Talk about team. Geez, now that I start to think about it, Carson Wentz, your starting quarterback, who who was probably going to win MVP.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go down for the rest of the season. Nick Foles comes in and plays, MVP style football. You have the Eagles had numerous of injuries all throughout, and it was next man up for them. And they just went into the playoffs with, a we can win mentality. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like, Nick Foles wasn't bigger than the team. It was everybody. It was the coach. It was having a little bit of balls and, running trick plays. Yep. They went into the Super Bowl with the shootout.
Yeah.
With the Patriots.
Against one of the greatest.
Against one of the greatest.
And I'll tell you this about the Eagles. I generally am not a fan of trick plays because I feel like I feel like if you feel like you have to run trick plays, it's because you don't think you're as good as the other team and you're trying to steal something. Mm-hmm. The way the Eagles did it, it didn't feel that way. It felt like, hey, we're going to go out and have fun. This is how we play.
Yeah.
We're as good as you are.
Right.
And not only are we as good as you are doing the normal X's and O's, we're better than you because we can do the non-traditional X's and O's too. I never felt like they ran, like that Philly special, I didn't feel like they ran that play because they're like, ooh, we got to get a touchdown like here. We got to be sneaky, because Big Brother is going to kick our ass. I never got that feeling from them. The feeling I got from them is we can play with you. We can play regular X's and O's and beat you, and we can play funny X's and O's and beat you. And that's what they did. And I said this when we did the podcast originally. I believe this was podcast number 1. Nobody, in my opinion, in football last year, and no one of the people that we're going to talk about now embodied next man up like Philadelphia did last year. They were the epitome of next man up. You hear people talk next man up all the time. No one lived it and did it like the Eagles did. No one.
As we're talking about this, it's so hard to, and we're not doing it, but it's so hard to rank best championship team because, baseball, it's 162 games. Football, it's 16 games. It's just a different sport. So, I think we can agree, shout out to all these championship teams. They all do it on a different level. And they, God, like the Eagles, like really...
it's
a complete team effort. And, God, they're doing it again.
They might do it again. They might very well do it again.
That's crazy.
Speaking of next man up, one of the best examples of next man up that we got was in the national championship game with Alabama, where they were struggling against Georgia.
A good Georgia team.
And Nick Saban made a gutsy call.
Yeah.
Switching to a freshman quarterback, Tua T. I can't say his last name.
Fair enough.
And that kid came in and just lit it up. It
ended up being the right call.
Oh, absolutely.
Not only for that game, but going forward.
Yeah.
Right?
And then during the regular season now coming forward, Jalen Hurts does the same thing in reverse, right? Tua gets hurt. They're not playing great in the SEC championship game. And who, ironically, against Georgia again. And who comes in to save the day? Jalen Hurts, the guy who was subbed out in the national championship game. So, I guess Nick Saban is teaching next man up at Alabama.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things good.
Yeah.
I guess he's doing that good as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah.
Funny moments from the year. When we talk about championships, to me, the gift that keeps on giving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still see memes about this. In the NBA Finals, in Game 1. Was it Game 1? I think it was Game 1.
It was Game 1. Yeah, it was Game 1.
J.R. Smith grabs an offensive rebound with the game tied, thinking that the Cavs are ahead, and tries to run out the clock.
This happened in April or May.
June.
And for it to be so fresh on December 31st, and for you to be a meme still, I mean, you did your job, J.R. Smith. You did your job.
It's but that just goes to show you, right? The winning a championship is not easy. You're playing against the very best. You're playing against the 1% of 1%. And here you are. The pressure is so intense. The lights are so bright. It is so difficult to win a championship. People make mistakes.
Yeah, the biggest one of his life.
And sometimes they become very, very amusing to the rest of us that watch. Just incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible stuff. Let's see. If you think about championships, the biggest surprise has to be in hockey, right? Where you had an expansion team. Right? We're talking about teams that shocked us in 2018. The Vegas Golden Knights didn't win the Stanley Cup, but man, they came close.
Yeah.
They made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And in hockey, just like in other sports, when you have an expansion team, you have an expansion draft, and teams are allowed to protect a certain number of players, and the ones that they leave unprotected,
you get their leftovers.
Yeah, the ones that you leave unprotected are essentially the leftovers, essentially the guys that you don't think are that good, and the Golden Knights made a great hockey team out of it.
That might be the best inaugural team ever.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, to reach the finals like that, and
aside from like the original Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, right.
Because they were all new.
Right, or in any sport for that matter.
Or in any sport, right? But yeah, it's just amazing that they came together.
Especially with what happened in Vegas that year, right? A couple months before, I think.
In the beginning of the season, right? Because it was in October.
Somewhere in the middle.
No, it was in October.
Right.
In the beginning of the season.
It was? Okay. Yeah, I mean, so that was, that was great for Vegas, having a team go that far and kind of lift their spirits in a way. You know what I mean? So that was pretty neat to see.
And my understanding is Vegas has really kind of caught the hockey bug.
Have they?
Yeah, it's hockey is doing well in Vegas. They're doing well again this season. Not quite as good as last season, but they're doing good. They're probably going to make the playoffs. We'll see what happens.
That's amazing.
It is. It's incredible. Best celebration of winning a championship also comes from hockey. Did anyone have more fun with the Stanley Cup than the Washington Capitals?
What did they do now?
What didn't they do? That thing was at pool parties.
Strip clubs.
I mean, Alex Ovechkin paraded around D.C. with that thing everywhere he went. And he'd show up at baseball games and drink more champagne out of it. And,
I would too.
I mean, he seemed to have a good time.
Yeah. Well, it was a long time coming for him.
Absolutely.
Our best player in the league.
Well, certainly one of the best.
One of the best.
Top 5 player in the league for sure. Yeah. I mean, they had. And look, I think they all have a good time. It's a little bit different in hockey because they travel with the trophy, and the trophy is, it's one trophy. It's not like in football, right? The Vince Lombardi trophy that they hand out in football, that's the same. That's, you get one, and next year they make a new one, and whoever wins next year. The Stanley Cup is one. There's only one of them. And so they treat that thing with like royalty. I mean, the guys that travel with it wear gloves to handle it. And
you don't want to be the one to drop it or put a dent in it. You don't want to be that guy.
A la Sergio Ramos, who dropped the Copa del Rey off the bus.
I remember that.
That was years ago. That was in 2018. We won't talk about that. Let's see what else. Real Madrid winning the Champions League again, 3rd time in a row, 11th overall. The Champions League is a unique tournament. I kind of wish we had something like that, but basically what it is so they take the top 2, 3, 4 teams from every country and they play this massive tournament, and it's in Europe, right? Mm-hmm. It's based in Europe. They play this massive tournament while their season is going on. So imagine the Red Sox in 2019 are playing their regular season, and in between, they've got to run off to play the champion from Venezuela or Mexico or Canada or whatever, right? And they're playing in this massive tournament while their regular season is going on. So it's a difficult tournament to win because of
so much going on.
Yeah, so much
traveling
and Real Madrid won it for the third time in a row.
That's impressive.
It is very impressive.
The things you mentioned, that really makes it that much more impressive.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, think about the amount of games you're playing, traveling, wear and tear, right? And then just to win back-to-back is hard. Having win 3 in a row is
and you're playing
unheard of.
And you're playing in soccer, right, where money is king. You're playing all-star teams.
Right.
I mean, you're playing... Real Madrid's an all-star team in and of itself, for sure. But you're playing... you're playing against Manchester United and Juventus and Bayern Munich, which those teams have a lot of money as well. They've built these powerhouses. Those are all-star teams as well. So, man, from a team's perspective, that has been a lot of fun. All of those teams are. It brings back great memories. I'm really glad we're doing this because. I kind of forgot about some of that stuff.
You forget. It's so much going on.
It's so much going on, and it's such good sports. I love it.
So what about individual stories? Like what's your biggest story? We can go sport by sport, or we could just do it as they come. If we start with baseball, I think I know which one yours is.
How does a guy who pitches and hits not win the MVP every year? I'll tell you how. He gets injured and doesn't play the whole season. But if Ohtani had played the whole season, he should have won the MVP.
That's a big story.
It's
I think going forward for baseball, right?
I
huge.
really hope that the Angels don't force him. Or whatever. I hope that the decision is not made for him to be just a pitcher or just a outfielder. Mm-hmm. I hope that they let him do both because I really want to see. I want to see if one guy can do it. I want to see if one guy can get 400 plate appearances and 25 starts. I want to see it happen. I want to see it.
That would be pretty cool.
Think about it. And if he's a decent hitter with 400 plate appearances and he's a decent pitcher with 25 starts, how does he not win MVP? It's to me, it is. There's no discussion. There's no MVP race the year he does that. There's none. I don't care. I don't care what Mookie Betts does. Hey man, real nice that you hit 310 and had 40 home runs and 120 RBIs. That's beautiful. But did you pitch 25 starts, win 13 games with a 3.26 ERA? No.
I think Ohtani's debut is probably one of the most intriguing stories of the year.
Yeah, individually in baseball, it's the story of the year.
Definitely.
So, for sure. Let's see. Basketball. Well,
J.R. Smith wins again.
No, we got to get off poor J.R. Smith. Let's see.
Is it LeBron switching jerseys?
It's got to be, right? Is there any other? LeBron casts such a huge shadow over the sport. We have so many good players in the NBA that we could talk about, but Paul George is an excellent basketball player.
Yeah.
And yet, is he going to go somewhere? Is he going to re-sign with OKC? There was some drama there.
He did what probably 90% of the players wouldn't do.
He re-signed with OKC, and no one gave a shit. It barely registered on ESPN.
Yeah.
LeBron just is. He is. I hate to say this, right? Because it sounds like he's bigger than anything else. But he is the NBA. He is the story. Even the Warriors are not as big a story as LeBron.
This season they might be. Or earlier in the season.
Yeah, but that was just... That was just a little hiccup. That wasn't no big deal.
Yeah. With KD winning back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah. If he wasn't playing at the same time as LeBron James, we would talk about Kevin Durant the way we talk about LeBron James. I mean, we would compare him to Michael Jordan. He's that good.
Probably.
He is a phenomenal basketball player.
Well, I think in 2019, free agency, we'll get to talk to him. We'll talk about him.
But I bet you...
That'd be cool if we can talk to him.
Yeah. KD, hit us up. PositiveSports10@gmail.com. PositiveSports10@gmail.com. Twitter, eMontana21. Brooklyn Gaucho 8. Positive Sports 6. Hit us up.
Nice.
It might work.
It might. That'd be fucking awesome.
On the line today, our friend Kevin Durant. I bet you his free agency is not nearly as big of a deal as LeBron's.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Even though he is, best basketball player alive right now.
Yeah.
Maybe tied for second.
What are the stories in the NBA as we go around?
In the NBA, really not much. NFL.
Oh, man.
2018.
As far as like players or
well, yeah, we're
what
talking
stands out?
Stories.
It's got to be the Raiders.
Raiders?
Yeah, Raiders getting ready to move to Vegas and then they get rid of their players.
The Raiders?
The Raiders.
Dude,
yeah.
Have you watched what's going on in New Orleans? Did you happen to notice that big hubbub about some guy breaking some record? He's thrown for so many yards that the football's gone around the earth 6 times or something. Have you heard of that guy?
Well, the Raiders stuck out. Just getting rid of their best player. That's a big story.
It is a big story, but to me, Drew Brees.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that's.
But I already knew that, so I already said that.
Drew Brees, fantastic story. That
breaking
guy's
records
still
left and
doing
right.
the thing. 39 years old.
He broke the passing record and the touchdown record.
I believe so.
In back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, because it wasn't on a bye week.
That's amazing.
It is. 39 years old, and he is still slinging. 39 years old and undersized, remember?
Right, that's right.
The story with him coming out of college was that he was too small.
Too little. He's 5'10". He really is little.
He was
for a quarterback.
He was doing the damn thing in San Diego, and the Chargers got a chance to get their hands on Phillip Rivers, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's still undersized. We don't really want him."
Yeah.
And New Orleans said, "Well, we ain't got a quarterback. We'll take him."
Yeah.
And look what's happened since.
How's that turned out?
Isn't that incredible? That is absolutely incredible.
Again, the beauty of sports, right? You get a chance to redeem yourself, and I mean, really make history.
Yeah, I mean, has anyone done a better job of? And you know what's cool about Drew Brees also? You never hear he doesn't talk like he's got a chip on his shoulder.
No,
not at all. I've never heard him.
He's just a good guy.
He's just a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Pretty much.
I agree. The best video I've seen of him was the one with him and his kids getting ready for bed. He's got 4 boys, and they're throwing the football around. They're running around the room, and he's firing footballs at them as they run by. Can you imagine trying to put those 4 to bed, and Drew Brees is your dad?
Well, can you imagine those 4 growing up? I mean, we could have 4 Breezes in the...
It'd be a storm.
Dude, that'd be fucking awesome. Raising
great.
4 kids, and they're all
monster
NFL quarterbacks.
I hope they're taller.
At the same time? Yeah, hopefully they take their mom's side.
Yeah, hopefully he married himself a tall chick. The other story in the NFL, well, actually, I think 3 other stories. Patrick Mahomes slinging 50 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield turning the Browns around. He's going to turn the Browns around.
I think he has. He's turned that he's given them hope.
Right.
Pretty much.
The attitude is different.
Yeah. But you know what? Baker Mayfield, he's cocky. He's cocky.
He is.
But I feel that his he's got the right intentions. You know, it's because you have players that are cocky, like Jalen Ramsey, and you know, it's me first before the team, and it's you just want to show out, right? But him, I think he truly, in his heart, wants to turn around this franchise, and he's on his way of doing that.
And the thing about him is he's cocky on the field.
Right.
Off the field,
he talks.
He kind of doesn't care.
He doesn't talk.
It's not like Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
He's cocky on Sunday. Jalen Ramsey's cocky Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
And then gets torched on Sunday.
Right.
Or at least, a few times.
Yeah.
The other story, Nick Foles. I mean, and the story is not over. This may just be chapter 2 of the same story.
In the same season, in the same year.
I mean,
he's doing it in the same year.
It's
right. Super Bowl, and now
if they knock off the Bears, what do you think they're going to do in Philadelphia if he takes them to the Super Bowl again and wins? Do they build him a statue? 2 statues?
The person that I feel bad for is Wentz, because if this happens again, this guy may never be the same. Honestly, think about it. He may never be the same up here.
Yeah, but the thing is that they still
are going to keep.
The Eagles still think
Wentz is the guy.
That Wentz is their quarterback. But how do you?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if they decide to keep them both and they go, look, Carson, just get us through week 12, bro.
we'll chunk you a few 15 million extra.
Yeah.
Just play.
Look, you can play your contract for 75% of the season.
I would. Why not?
Final 25% of the season, we're gonna put this Nick Foles character in.
I would do it.
And you know what? You know what's also kind of cool about this whole story?
Longer career.
Yeah. You know what's cool about this story is I think Carson Wentz and Nick Foles have handled it excellent. Both of them. Like Carson Wentz is still, and maybe it's easier for him because he got his job back, so to speak. Like he was never not the starter, right? As soon as he was healthy, he started. But Nick Foles, right? Like, I mean, Joe Flacco took his team to the Super Bowl one year and turned it into a monster paycheck.
Yeah.
Nick Foles said, "Nah, man, just give me my ring and I'll keep being the backup." That's kind of amazing in today's game. In fact, the Eagles coach was more irritated and irritable about the situation than the 2 guys in the situation.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Foles doesn't win a Super Bowl, but let's say he wins the first playoff game or even takes him to the championship game, he's going to get paid next year. So someone is going to throw him.
Well, if you're the Eagles, right? Is he a free agent?
He's a free agent.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. They should have traded him last season.
Yeah.
Well, no, because then they wouldn't have won.
They'd be running around with some Muppet.
Where would they be without Nick Foles?
All right, now, doesn't that decision, in hindsight, doesn't that look like such a good decision now?
The best one. The best decision of 2018 was keeping Nick Foles around.
Let's see. What else can we talk about 2018?
So those 2 weren't fighting, but the fight of 2018 was probably Khabib and McGregor.
Well, was it Khabib versus McGregor? Or was it Khabib versus everyone afterwards?
It was everything. It was the press conference. It was the fight itself. It was the fight after. It was it was what fighting in the UFC is. It's just trash talking and bantering, and it was it was great.
It was such a show. And it was, the good thing about that is, look, at the end of the day, sports is entertainment. But, of course, we want to see it at the highest level.
Right.
And the problem that we've always had with boxing is we never get the fight we want because these promoters are always messing around and stuff, right?
We get them years later.
Or we get them 5 years too late.
Right.
This was a fight between 2 extremely skilled men. 2 very dangerous men. And we got all of the entertainment, the trash talking, the pomp and circumstance, And then we got the quality fight. And then we got the drama afterwards. I mean, really, it was more than you could ever want in a fight. And really, if you think about this whole... And the drama is such that it's still not resolved. They still don't know what they're going to do as far as doling out suspensions to Khabib and McGregor. The state of Nevada hasn't figured it out yet. That's when you know the drama was good, when it's 2 months later and we still haven't figured it out.
And it was real. I think that was real. I mean,
yeah. Look,
I think it went far.
I think some of McGregor's antics, let's call them, are manufactured to sell a fight.
Right.
But not this one. And I'll tell you why. The incident in April, right, that precipitated all of this, where McGregor showed up at the Barclays Center, throwing a dolly through a bus, trying to get at Khabib. That incident was precipitated by Khabib and his friends smacking around one of Conor's friends a couple of days earlier, which was precipitated by some comments made in the Russian media by Khabib calling Conor a chicken, which apparently a chicken, like when we call someone a chicken, it's not a big deal. In Russia, you call someone a chicken, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So it's something that has been building.
Right.
And I think there's some genuine love loss between them.
So this lasted all of 2018.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. What we saw in October was merely the overflow of something that's been boiling for a long time.
Right.
So, also, if we're going to stay in the UFC, 2 times, this is going to get confusing. 2 times we had someone win 2 championships simultaneously. That's a lot of deuces there. But Daniel Cormier...
I love taking deuces.
Daniel Cormier was the light heavyweight champion, stepped up to heavyweight to fight Stipe Miocic, and won. So he was the simultaneous champion at light heavyweight and heavyweight. And then on Saturday, Amanda Nunes, who is the bantamweight champion, stepped up to featherweight to fight Chris Cyborg, beat her in probably the most exciting 51 seconds of a woman's fight you'll ever see. Actually, probably the most exciting 51 seconds of a fight this year.
No hair pulling.
No hair pulling. Straight savage. She won 2 titles as well. Cormier
should be voted like fighter of the year. I mean, what he's done.
He was.
Was he?
Yeah,
he was?
Okay. Fighter of the year.
There you go. Fighter. What did I say? Yeah, fighter.
Fighter of the year. I mean, he won the light heavyweight championship, or he defended the light heavyweight championship early in the year, stepped up to heavyweight, won that championship, defended the heavyweight championship.
That's amazing.
I mean,
he had a great year.
Yeah. And man, he's a class act, good dude. Just a good dude, and hats off to him. He says he's going to retire in March of 2019 when he turns 40. I don't know. I think he's got a lot left in the tank, and there's a lot of fights out there for him. Now that John Jones won.
And a lot of money to be made.
That's right. You can't make this money forever, bro.
That's right.
You retire when you're 42. When you can't make that money anymore.
That's right.
What other good stories can we talk about? Man, there's so many. The Olympics. And the story of the Olympics, for me, curling. It was so much fun to watch. The U.S.
You talking about dumbbells?
No. I'm talking about sliding stones and sweeping.
That's the best sport in the Olympics, by far.
It was so much fun. And the U.S. men, which, for those of you that don't watch curling, just pulled off a miraculous comeback to win the gold medal. Just fantastic. Those guys from Minnesota got there, took their 15 minutes of fame and stretched it out for a week, and just had a blast. Those guys were on every talk show in town. Curling.
Winning that gold medal has to be, when you do it the way they did it.
Well, and again, any gold medal. Think about it. When your sport isn't popular, and you get this opportunity once every 4 years.
Yeah.
To call yourself the best, when it only comes around once every 4 years, man, It's got to be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, I don't remember much else about the Olympics.
The other star of the Olympics was Chloe Kim. She won a bunch of gold medals.
What did she do? Skiing?
Snowboarding.
Oh, snowboarding.
Snowboarding. But she's like 17, and she's doing all these flips and stuff, and she's winning.
I used to be able to do that when I was 17. Good times.
Have you ever been snowboarding?
Oh, yeah, in my dreams, plenty of time.
That's about the only way. Chloe Kim, the American darling.
The real American hero.
Yep, for sure. What other stories from...
Sister Mary Jean?
Is it Mary Jean? Or Sister Jane? Jean?
Mary Jo? Sister Mary.
I thought it was Sister Jean.
Come on, when you talk about a sister in 2018,
what other sister is there?
She was throwing out first pitches.
Guys, she got popular.
No, she wasn't throwing out first pitches. This was another different sister.
No, she was. She made the rounds after the tournament.
Okay.
So for those of you that have forgotten, I think
sister was everywhere.
I think it's Sister Jean.
Sister Jean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not Jean.
No,
Sister Jean.
She was. I don't know what exactly is her role with Loyola Chicago.
I don't know. She's
she the dean
president
or some shit? I don't know. But she was at all those basketball games. They went on a run in the tournament, and she became the most popular thing ever. It got to the point where no one wanted to pick against Loyola because they thought she had the hotline to the big man upstairs.
Think about it. She was the story of the tournament. I mean, she was top 2 story of the tournament.
You know CBS does that little one shining moment after the final game.
She was every shining moment.
She was in the freaking shining moment. She didn't make one basket, but she was in the shining moment.
Yo, you can argue she was the story of that tournament.
Well, the other story is for the first time ever, a 16 seed beat a 1 seed in the NCAA basketball tournament. UMBC GDYN.
ABCD.
I mean, what does that stand for?
1, 2, 3.
Hey, $5 you don't know what their nickname is.
It's fuck, I don't know. The Warriors? The Knights?
Honestly, if you get it right, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know either.
The UMBC
University of Maryland, Baltimore County, right?
Yeah, sure. I'll go with that.
UMBC.
What is it?
I don't... The nickname?
Yeah.
I don't know. Look it up real quick.
the Blue Waffles?
You thought I was kidding? I don't know.
Look it up.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up right now.
I don't know what it was.
Carry the show, my brother.
But we've never seen a 16 seed beat a number 1 seed. They probably lost in their next game, right?
Yeah, they did.
They did? What is it? Knights?
You never would have gotten this.
Give me a hint.
Dog.
Bulldogs?
No.
The Wieners. The Poodles.
No. The Retrievers.
The Retrievers. Oh my God. Really?
Yeah. And their dog and their little mascot thing is a golden retriever.
Well, that makes sense.
Well,
why isn't it golden retrievers?
That takes too long. You know, it's the same
thing. You got
thing
the golden bears.
No, most of the time they call them bears now. Cow bears. And the hockey team, the Vegas, they're the Vegas Golden Knights. More and more they're starting to call them the Vegas Knights.
The Vegas Knights, huh?
It's the same thing with Tampa Bay, right? They used to be the Devil Rays. That takes too long. Just Rays.
That sucks. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, you would have never gotten that. In the world of tennis, we had Serena Williams. Serena Williams got more attention for losing a tennis match than she ever did for winning tennis matches. Now, in all fairness to her, she came back onto the scene after taking some time off for the birth of her daughter, and she was lights out at the U.S. Open until she ran into Osaka, and unfortunately, that match became overshadowed by one call, which really kind of didn't play into the result. And it really overshadowed Osaka, who played a fantastic tournament. I mean, she was good throughout the
Which
tournament.
is a shame because she went up against the best tennis player in the world.
And beat her.
Beat her
soundly.
And no one's going to remember that.
Right.
Except for Osaka.
Yeah, it really is a shame, too, because... And the fans booing during the award ceremony... And this chick's like, look, man, I just won a tennis match. It's not my fault the referee called something that
really didn't, like you said, didn't have an effect on the result, right?
Well, the call ended up not really having an effect on the result. I mean, it did. Obviously, it cost Serena points and whatnot. But Osaka was going to win that match regardless. Yeah. And it was up to Serena to make a comeback, but it didn't look like she was going to. And the call was one of those things that, she got called for coaching from the coach's box. And Serena got really... I think Serena made it worse than it actually was. Mm-hmm. If she'd have just taken the warning and gone on about her business, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. But she decided... I mean, apparently she thought it questioned her dignity or whatever. And she just got all kinds of fired up about it. And it
turned out to be a little more personal.
Yeah, it was a mess. Probably the biggest controversy. What are the controversial moments that we have in 2018? Can we think of any good controversies?
There were. I can't think of any. I'm
sure there are. It always works this way, right? Whenever you're sitting around thinking about it.
I'm sure there are. I can't think of one. But anyway, Nadal won the French Open. I think
again.
For like the 11th time.
That's
the only tournament he should play in.
If he's in, everyone else should drop out so he can win 12. Yeah, it's crazy. He absolutely owns that thing. I just don't. I understand it. Tennis is the only sport really where they play on different surfaces, and the surfaces are so different that it makes a guy dominant on one and just really good on another.
Just a regular tennis player.
Well, he's not a regular tennis. I mean, he's won other tournaments that are not on clay, right? Yeah. But yeah, he ain't won 11 of anything else.
Right.
No other sport does that. It's kind of interesting when you think about it, right? Because baseball, the field dimensions are a little bit different, and you have the air issue in Colorado, but it's basically the same game.
Yeah, it's not like turf and grasses.
Although you do have the DH in one league and not in the other, which affects pitching stats and stuff. But football, kickers get fucked with indoors, outdoors. But other than that, can you think of anything else?
Kickers. I can't think of anything else.
It's been a good year in sports.
It was. There was a lot to look back on and good moments.
Yeah,
I must say.
A lot of good stuff. And look, 2019 is but 12 hours away. We're about to get another year full of sports moments that we can talk about next year.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Should
we
be
got the
good.
NFL playoffs right around the corner. We got the national championship game already set. Alabama-Clemson for a third time. Basketball and hockey are in full swing mid-season. Major League Baseball's in the off-season. They're dealing with free agency before they kick off for the new year. Soccer's in mid-flight around the world. Great stuff.
Good stuff.
Can't wait for another year of sports action.
No Olympics and no World Cup.
No Olympics, no World Cup in 2019,
That's
unfortunately. All right. That's okay. That's okay. The sports world will always give us something to talk about. Always give us something to talk about. You got anything else, my friend?
Nah, man.
You want to do a year-long shout-out? Your favorite person of 2018?
Man. God. I can't, I don't know, you want to go? Maybe
I'll go first. And this
hold up the show.
This isn't a big deal. It's not a big deal. But our touch with the most famous, our closest touch to a famous person is a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
And this year, he fought on the Contender Series. He won. He got a contract with the UFC. fought in the UFC. He won his first fight in the UFC. Looks to have a promising career. And he's a friend of ours.
Yep.
Juan the Kraken Adams. And I know that sounds a little bit childish, and I'm picking my friend for a shout out. But look, here's the thing. The guy kicks ass.
Yep.
That's cool.
Plain and simple.
But the guy's fun. He's a fun guy. Follow him on Instagram or Twitter at ChosenJuan285. He's just a good time. He's just a good dude. He's just a good dude.
He likes to have fun.
He's a good dude. Comes from a good family. Went to college. He's not a dumbass. He's not a meathead. He's very insightful. He's just a fun guy. And I expect great things for him in 2019 and beyond. And and he's my friend. So I'm gonna take the easy way out. I'm gonna go that way.
He ended 2018 in a nice way, making his UFC debut, right?
Yep.
And
winning
ass.
a tough fight, but really beating the shit out of a guy who had a lot of experience. So
yeah, I don't have nobody.
Alex doesn't like anyone.
I don't like anyone.
Alrighty. Well, with that, there's our 2018 year in review. If you have any comments for us about 2018, anything we may have missed, if we didn't talk about your favorite darts player from 2018 or whatever, drop us a line. Email the show, positivesports10@gmail.com, positivesports10@gmail.com. If you want to get a hold of Alex, how do they do that, my friend?
Don't be a leader, be a follower on Twitter at BrooklynGaucho8.
And if you want to get a hold of me, you can do so on Twitter as well, at eMontana21. The show also has a Twitter page. It's under construction, but you can start to reach out to us there as well at Positive Sports 6. And with that,
Sweet.
That is 2018, folks. Look, like we said in the very beginning, the Positive Sports Podcast was born in 2018. And we have been so blessed to have so many of our friends and family and new connections and people that we've met through this podcast, fans of the show, fans of us, some haters of us too. It's been a great ride.
Haters are welcome too.
We can't wait to give you more content, have more chats with you, and continue to have fun talking sports and talking about the positive side of life in 2019. My brother, thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Man.
It has been a blast. I know it sounds like I'm signing off forever, but I'm not. I'm just signing off till next week.
Next year.
Until next year. As always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.